Have you ever stopped to think about why ancient samurai could walk calmly into battles they might not survive, while modern men panic over alarm clocks, unread emails, and a phone notification? More than 70% of people today report living in constant cycles of stress, distraction, and procrastination, not because they are lazy, not because they lack ambition, but because their minds have been hijacked by dopamine, hijacked by comfort, hijacked by endless mental negotiation. Every morning begins the same. You wake up with plans, big plans. You promise yourself today will be different. Today you'll wake up earlier. Today you'll stop scrolling. Today you'll finally become disciplined. But then you hit snooze. You check your phone, you delay, and by nightfall the same silent frustration returns. Another day lost, another promise broken, another piece of self-trust destroyed. The truth is, the problem was never your goals. The problem was never your motivation. The problem was your identity. Centuries ago in the temples of Japan, and among the warriors who lived by codes stronger than fear itself, there existed a system that solved this exact human weakness. A system so powerful that it transformed ordinary men into relentless forces of nature, not through motivation, not through inspiration, but through structure, through ritual, through irreversible identity. Modern neuroscience now confirms what these ancient masters understood long before Harvard or Stanford ever studied. The brain-repeated structured behavior reshapes neural pathways, strengthens the prefrontal cortex, and reduces self-destructive decision fatigue. Stanford researchers call it automaticity. Harvard psychologists call it identity-based behavioral reinforcement. Zen monks simply called it the path. And once you understand this path, you will never look at discipline the same way again. Because this is not about becoming temporarily motivated. This is about becoming someone who no longer breaks. In today's video, I'm going to tell you the story of Adrian, a 29-year-old designer whose life looked successful from the outside. Good income, modern apartment, career potential. But internally, he was collapsing, drowning in procrastination, dopamine addiction, inconsistency. Like millions today, he wasn't failing because he lacked intelligence. He was failing because he was trapped in a broken internal system. But what happened when Adrian discovered an ancient Japanese discipline code would completely reconstruct who he was? After this video, you will never look at your daily habits the same way again. I will show you exactly how this system was applied. Welcome to this channel where we build a community through ancient wisdom, disciplined identity, and the timeless path of self-mastery. If you want to master your mind, destroy procrastination, and build habits that truly last, subscribe now, turn on the notification bell, and comment below with the biggest habit you are currently struggling to control, because you are not alone in this. And the truth is, the problem has never been your lack of effort. It has always been the system controlling your life. Chapter 1. The Man Trapped in the Endless Loop. In today's video, I'm going to tell you the story of a man named Adrian. Adrian was 29 years old. He lived in Toronto. He worked as a product designer for a fast-growing tech company. On paper, his life looked impressive. Six-figure income, modern downtown apartment, remote flexibility, career status most people envied. From the outside, Adrian appeared successful, but behind closed doors he was slowly collapsing. Every night he stayed awake longer than he should, scrolling, refreshing, consuming, short videos, social media, dopamine overload. He told himself it was harmless, just a way to unwind, just a few minutes. But a few minutes became hours, and hours became years. Every morning began with exhaustion. His alarm rang. He hit snooze, again and again. Then came guilt, the same guilt, every single day. Adrian had dreams, real ones. He wanted to build discipline, get stronger, read more, meditate, launch his own business, become the kind of man people respected. But there was one devastating problem. He couldn't stay consistent. Gym memberships expired. Books collected dust. Meditation apps were deleted. Morning routines lasted days, then disappeared. The cycle was brutal. Monday he became obsessed. New planner, new goals, new motivation. He felt unstoppable. By Thursday, cracks formed. He was tired, busy, overwhelmed. By Sunday, the system was dead, and the promises restarted. This week will be different, but it never was. Week after week, month after month, year after year. Adrian wasn't lazy. He wasn't stupid. He wasn't incapable. He was stuck in what millions suffer through, silently, a broken internal operating system. The truth is, Adrian's problem was never effort. It was never knowledge. Like many modern men, he had read the books: Atomic Habits, Deep Work, motivational frameworks, productivity systems. He knew what to do, but knowing had never become becoming, and that difference was destroying him. Because every time Adrian failed, he trusted himself less. Every broken promise weakened his identity. Every delay reinforced weakness. Every abandoned habit became proof that he was still the kind of person who quit. Silent exhaustion consumed him. He wasn't physically broken. He was psychologically trapped, caught between ambition and self-betrayal. And the worst part, he believed the solution was more motivation. But the truth was far darker and far more powerful. Adrian did not need more motivation. He needed a complete reconstruction of who he was. Chapter 2: The Silent Collapse. Adrian's life did not fall apart all at once. It happened quietly, slowly, almost invisibly. That's how most modern men break, not through catastrophe, but through repetition. Every day looked normal. Wake up late, rush to work, coffee instead of breakfast, deadlines, notifications, Slack messages, artificial urgency, then exhaustion, then escape, food delivery, streaming, scrolling, sleep, repeat. From the outside, Adrian looked functional, but internally he was bleeding discipline. His body was growing weaker, his focus was shattered, his confidence was eroding. He avoided mirrors, not because he hated how he looked, but because he hated what he had become. Soft, distracted, reactive, he remembered who he used to believe he could be. Strong, sharp, controlled. But each failed habit pushed that version further away. The gym became a symbol of guilt. Unread books became reminders of self-betrayal. His journal pages stayed empty. Meditation became another abandoned identity. And the pain wasn't just physical, it was existential. Because Adrian wasn't merely failing tasks, he was losing trust in himself. Every promise he broke created evidence. Evidence that he could not rely on his own word. And once a man stops trusting himself, everything begins to collapse. He started hesitating before setting goals. Why bother? He already knew how it would end. Another failed attempt, another unfinished system, another disappointment. Fear of failure became stronger than ambition itself. So he stopped aiming high. He lowered standards, made excuses, told himself he was being realistic. But deep down he knew the truth. He wasn't being realistic. He was surrendering. This is how millions live, not in dramatic ruin, but in quiet resignation. Their dreams don't explode, they decay, and Adrian was trapped in that decay. He wasn't starving, he wasn't homeless, he wasn't broken by society's standards, but he was spiritually exhausted, a prisoner of inconsistency, a man living on autopilot. The terrifying truth: his greatest enemy wasn't failure, it was normalization. He was becoming comfortable inside his own collapse, and that was the most dangerous stage of all. Chapter 3: The Discovery That Changed Everything. The breaking point came on a Tuesday night. 2:13 a.m. Adrian sat alone in the blue glow of his apartment. Laptop open, phone in hand, mind exhausted. Another failed restart, another promise destroyed. He had spent the entire day convincing himself that tomorrow would be different. But deep down, he knew he was lying. Again. For the first time, Adrian stopped asking, "How do I become more motivated?" and instead asked a far more dangerous question: "Why do I keep becoming the same person?" That question changed everything. In his restless search for answers, Adrian stumbled across an obscure interview with Dr. Kenji Sato, a Japanese neuroscientist and former Zen practitioner who had spent decades studying ancient monastic discipline systems. Dr. Sato said something Adrian had never heard before. The problem is not that you fail to act. The problem is that your identity is still designed to fail. Adrian froze. For years he had been trying to change behavior, without ever changing the self generating that behavior. Dr. Sato explained that ancient Japanese monks never relied on motivation. They relied on ritualized identity. In Zen monasteries, discipline was not a choice. It was architecture. Wake, practice, repeat, no negotiation, no emotional dependence, no daily debate. This philosophy was rooted in an ancient principle known as guoji, continuous practice without interruption, without gaps, without exceptions. The purpose was not self-improvement. It was self-reconstruction. Dr. Sato compared the human brain to a survival machine. Modern neuroscience supports this. Harvard behavioral researchers have shown that repeated ritualized behavior can bypass the emotional resistance of the amygdala and gradually transfer control to automatic systems in the basal ganglia. In simple terms, repeated structure kills internal chaos. Ancient monks understood this centuries before science proved it. Adrian felt something he hadn't felt in years. Not motivation, not excitement. Certainty. For the first time, he realized his life wasn't broken because he lacked discipline. It was broken because he lacked a system stronger than his emotions. And in that moment, his transformation began. Not with hype, not with a new planner, not with temporary inspiration, but with a terrifying realization to become someone new. His old self would have to die. Chapter 4. Kaizen, the ancient code of small daily victory. Dr. Sato did not give Adrian motivation. He gave him something far more powerful, a system, and at the center of that system was an ancient Japanese philosophy that had shaped warriors, monks, and masters for centuries: Kaizen. Continuous improvement, small steps, daily refinement. At first, Adrian was disappointed. He expected something dramatic, un secret formula, en extreme transformation. But Kaizen was almost offensively simple. Improve by one small action, every day, without fail. Dr. Sato explained, your mind breaks when the challenge is too large, but it adapts when growth feels survivable. This changed everything. Most people fail because they attempt revolutions. Wake up at 4 a.m., 2-hour workouts, meditation, cold plunges, perfect diets, massive change. Their nervous system interprets this as threat. The amygdala resists. The brain panics. And soon, they collapse. But Kaizen bypasses resistance. One push-up, one page, 2 minutes, one small, undeniable victory. This is how identity begins rebuilding. Not through intensity, through proof. Each small action sends a message. I am someone who follows through. That message compounds. Stanford behavioral studies confirm that tiny, repeated actions create sustainable neural rewiring far more effectively than extreme behavioral overhauls. In other words, small, consistent action beats occasional intensity every time. For Adrian, this meant abandoning his obsession with dramatic change. Instead of trying to dominate his life overnight, he began with 10 push-ups, 5 minutes of meditation, 10 pages of reading. Simple, repeatable, non-threatening. But here was the hidden power. He did it every day, no matter what. Rain, stress, fatigue, travel, no gaps. Because Kaizen is not about speed, it is about permanence. Each repetition was a brick. Each day was a vote. Each action was evidence. Slowly, the weak identity that had betrayed him for years began to erode. And a new one emerged. Stronger, calmer, more dangerous. Adrian realized something profound. Greatness was never built through giant moments of intensity. It was built through small acts repeated until they became irreversible. This was no longer self-help. This was identity engineering. And for the first time in his life, Adrian was no longer chasing transformation. He was constructing it. Chapter 5. The relapse that almost destroyed him. For the first 2 weeks, Adrian felt unstoppable. Every morning he woke before sunrise. Push-ups, meditation, reading, small victories. The Kaizen system was working. For the first time in years, he felt control returning. His confidence began to rise. His mind grew quieter. His body felt sharper. But then, reality struck. A brutal project deadline, late-night client emergencies, sleep deprivation, stress, chaos. By day 17, Adrian missed his first morning. Just one day. At least that's what he told himself. His old voice returned immediately. You're exhausted. One missed day doesn't matter. You deserve rest. Restart tomorrow. And just like that, the ancient cycle threatened to return. One missed day became 2, then 3. The guilt came flooding back, the familiar shame, the same self-hatred. For a moment, Adrian believed he had failed again, that nothing had changed, that he was still the same broken man. But this time, something was different. Instead of collapsing fully, Adrian remembered Dr. Sato's words, fall 7 times, rise 8. This was not failure. This was part of the path. Zen philosophy had never promised perfection. It demanded return. Immediately. Without emotional drama. Without self-punishment. Without surrender. So Adrian did something his old self never would have done. He restarted small. Not with punishment. Not with extremes. Not with self-hatred. The next morning, 1 push-up. 2 minutes of meditation. 1 page. That was enough, because the goal was never intensity. It was continuity. He learned a critical truth. Relapse is dangerous only when it becomes identity. Missing once does not destroy you. Quitting does. This realization changed everything. Each setback became training. Each obstacle became proof. Each recovery strengthened his new self-image. Harvard psychologists describe this as resilience-based identity reinforcement. The act of returning after failure builds stronger long-term behavioral permanence than never struggling at all. In simple terms, getting back up rewires you faster than staying perfect. Adrian no longer feared bad days. He feared abandonment. So he kept returning, again and again and again. Not perfectly, but relentlessly. And through that process, he stopped being someone who occasionally practiced discipline. He became someone who always came back. And that identity was nearly impossible to break. Chapter 6. The brain was never your enemy. Adrian's transformation was not magic. It was neuroscience. For years, he believed his inconsistency was a character flaw, weakness, laziness, lack of discipline. But Dr. Sato revealed something deeper. His brain was simply doing what it was designed to do: survive. The amygdala, the ancient fear center of the brain, is constantly scanning for threats. And to your primitive biology, change is a threat. New habits require energy, uncertainty, discomfort, risk. So when Adrian tried radical self-transformation, his amygdala resisted. Not because he was broken, but because his brain prioritized safety over growth. This is why motivation fades, why comfort wins, why procrastination feels natural. Then came the role of the prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for willpower, decision-making, and long-term planning. But here's the problem: willpower is exhaustible. Every decision drains it. Stanford researchers call this decision fatigue. The more choices Adrian made, the weaker his self-control became. This is why ancient systems eliminate choice. Fixed rituals protect mental energy. But the real breakthrough came through neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to physically rewire itself through repetition. Every repeated action strengthens neural pathways. Every consistent habit makes behavior more automatic. Every return reinforces identity. Over time, the basal ganglia takes over. Behavior becomes unconscious, automatic, like walking, like breathing, like waking at 5 a.m. without debate. This is why Kaizen works. This is why repetition beats intensity. This is why identity changes only through action. Adrian was not fighting his brain. He was retraining it. And once he understood this, everything changed. He stopped relying on emotion, stopped worshipping motivation, stopped expecting discipline to feel easy. Instead, he used ancient philosophy to align with biology. And when philosophy meets neuroscience, transformation stops being hope. It becomes inevitability. Adrian's story was never really about Adrian. It was about you. Because the truth is, most people are not destroyed by failure. They are destroyed by inconsistency, not by lack of intelligence, not by lack of ambition, but by broken self-trust. Every abandoned routine, every delayed goal, every promise postponed until Monday. These are not small failures. They are identity wounds, and over time, they convince you that you are someone who cannot change. But now you know better. You've seen the system, you've seen the path, and more importantly, you've seen what becomes possible when ancient philosophy meets modern neuroscience. So let's make this simple. The transformation Adrian experienced came down to 5 core principles. Public declaration. Make your commitment real, visible, painful to break, fixed schedule, remove negotiation, eliminate when, the same time, every day, identical practice. Stop chasing novelty. Repetition builds identity, not variety, no gaps, never miss twice. Shrink the practice if necessary, but never allow the river to stop. Pre-solved obstacles. Prepare for weakness before weakness arrives. Decide once, execute automatically. This is how ordinary people become terrifyingly consistent. Not through motivation, through identity reconstruction. So now the real question is, who are you when motivation dies? Who are you when stress rises? Who are you when comfort calls your name? Because that is your true identity. If you are serious about changing, then here is your challenge. For the next 30 days, choose one habit, only one. Write it down. Use present tense. I am a person who. Set a fixed daily time. Make it public. Build your minimum viable version for hard days. And then, protect that chain with your life. No excuses, no emotional negotiation, no waiting for perfect conditions, just daily proof, day by day, brick by brick, identity by identity. After 30 days, you will not simply have better habits. You will have evidence. Evidence that you can trust yourself again. And that may be the most powerful transformation of all. Because once a person rebuilds self-trust, everything changes. So I ask you, will you remain the person who keeps restarting, or will you become the person who no longer stops? Thank you for watching until the end. Very few people make it this far. That alone tells me something about you. You are searching for more. Now don't let this become another video that inspires you for one night and changes nothing. Don't wait until next Monday. Don't wait until next month. Don't wait until life becomes easier. Start today, right now, because the person you want to become is built by what you do next, not by what you hope for later. Subscribe, activate the notification bell, and comment below with your 30-day public declaration. Make it real. Make it witnessed. Make this the day your old identity begins to die. And as always, be present. Walk with honor. Follow the path.